running to lose weight. So, can you do cardio to lose weight? You'll probably find a lot of confusing information out there. A lot of people saying that cardio is bad for you. You don't need to do a lot of cardio. Well, actually, you don't need to do a lot of cardio. You can actually lose weight without cardio. Honestly, I don't run anymore. I'm 53 years old. I had an accident, but when I was in my 30s, I did triathlons. Hi, my name is Greg. I'm the founder of iHeartGains. iHeartGains is all about developing practical applications around science in the fitness performance part of health, right? Fitness performance and health, in my opinion, go together, right? Many of us look for shortcuts. Many of us look for shortcuts. I don't think shortcuts are there. I think more efficient ways of doing things are there. You can take the long way around, but I'm gonna be more efficient. To me, it's all about working smarter and not harder. So about cardio, right? Let me break this down to how I think about it, right? So as I said, I'm 53 years old. When I was in my 30s, I did triathlons, right? And I was able to run sub 530 miles. And before I did triathlons, I got from 190 to 220 pounds. In my late 20s, I weighed the same amount as I did in my late teens, right? I wanted to see how much weight I could put on. So I went from 190 to 220. And for me, it was really hard. No one else in my family is this big, right? Everyone, all the men in my family that I know are pretty thin, right? For their height. And so what I did was I got up to 220 pounds. And at that point, I decided I wanted to run and do a triathlon. So I ran every single week. I got down to 185. When you're in your 30s, it's probably easy for you to do this, but when you're older, it probably may be difficult. And I want to tease out something about fitness that I think many people don't understand or even appreciate. So when we're talking about fitness performance and fitness health, if you can imagine someone that's running a 6-minute mile is probably going to be physically fit. In your mind, what a 6-minute mile looks like is probably fairly thin, right? But actually, I got down to 5 pounds less than what I was when I started. So I started at 190 and I got to 220. And then when I did my events, my 5Ks and my triathlons, that's a 185, right? And during the season, I actually got down to about 165-ish, right? So here are some of the things that I think that are important to think of when you try to do cardio and don't like it. So the first component, let's look at cardio this way, right? When you're doing cardio, there are 3 metrics that you want to improve, or 3 components of your training that you want to address, right? You want to be good at speed, you want to be good at strength, and you want to be good at endurance. And why do I say this, right? So if you're a sprinter, right, if you look at the popular sprinters or even the top people in the world that sprint 100 meters, their upper body is really defined, right? They have pecs and then they have biceps, right? Conversely, if you look at people that are the top marathoners, right, they're generally thinner and they don't have big biceps, but they could probably run 100 meters faster than the average person, right? If you've ever seen those videos of the guys on those treadmills trying to match Kipchoge's, mile times, they look out of shape and their running economy is not efficient, right? So I want to introduce this whole thing, this whole understanding of weight loss from a running perspective, and then we're going to address it from bodybuilding or weightlifting or resistance training perspective, right? So a runner needs to focus on their speed, their strength, and then their resistance. The speed, the strength, and then their endurance, right? And one thing that a runner would do to boost their endurance would be bicep curls. And you think I'm joking, but I am totally serious. And there's rep ranges for everything, right? So the rep ranges for endurance don't necessarily increase muscle size, right? And I think when we address muscle size, we kind of think about it incorrectly or not efficiently, right? So there are 2 types of muscle fiber, type 1, type 2A, type 2B, and type 2X, right? Isn't that crazy? There's 4 types of muscle fiber, but we only say there's 2 types. and then we break down type 2 into 3 types and just type 1. So type 1 muscle fiber is your slow twitch muscle fiber. And people believe that you're born with certain types of muscle fiber that make you more likely to run in a marathon versus run in a 100-meter dash or 100-meter sprint. But actually, the way you train is going to help probably have more control over how you perform and what kind of muscle fiber you have. So type 1 muscle fiber is typically for endurance athletes, and you can build your endurance by doing bicep curls, and how you do those bicep curls is going to reflect the muscle size. And I should also add that type 2 muscle fiber in general, because there's 3 types of muscle fiber, will atrophy faster than type 1 muscle fiber. So the fact that people tend to lose muscle fiber by the age of 50, their muscle fiber density goes down. Well, I think we need to understand that some people probably never ran a mile in their life, and then their muscle fiber type is going to be probably more type 2-ish muscle fiber versus type 1 muscle fiber. The first 5K I ever did in my 30s, the person that won the 5K in like 15 minutes and 32 seconds, 15 minutes, 21 seconds, I think it was. And he was 52. He's 1 year younger than I am now. And he was thin. He was kind of short. And, I don't think I had big muscles, but I mean, I have pecs, and I never had pecs as a runner. If you look at long distance runners, their pecs, in my opinion, are to rival those that are sprinters in 100 meters, right? But anyway, that's besides the point. So basically, I'm trying to say that there's 3 components to there's speed component, there's the strength component, there's the endurance component, and I will add a 4th component. There's a time you spend, right? So when you're doing training for a 5K, 10K, half marathon, or just to lose weight, there's all these various levers you can pull and various things you can do to increase your likelihood of gaining type 1 muscle fiber, because you're going on the endurance spectrum, and for losing weight, right? For burning energy. So here's a big concept I think many people miss when they talk about endurance, right? So you're not an endurance athlete, or you don't do endurance training when you compare to everyone can do endurance training, right? No one starts off being able to run 30 miles a week, right? You got to start somewhere. And with interval training, you get good at running 1 mile. You run 1 mile the first time, it's going to be difficult. The more times you attempt that, it gets easier and easier. On my website, iHeartGains.com, I have this page where it lists the workouts that you can do with high intensity cardio. These are 6-minute workouts, and I would choose one workout and try it through the whole week. And usually on that Monday, I do the workouts fasted, but on the Monday when I do the workout, they typically are difficult. And then when I reach Saturday, I do them every morning, 6-minute workout. I start on Monday, go through Saturday. On Saturday, that workout is much easier, right? And so the same thing with running, right? The more you do it, the easier it's gonna get for you until you age out, and then that whole thing changes. But when you're in your 30s, in your 40s, maybe you're able to do these things and you're able to see some positive results. And my philosophy about training is to eventually turn into a bodybuilder or resistance train a lot or weight-lift a lot when you don't run, because when you're running, you're putting a lot of stress on your legs and your limbs, right? And so, and I would say building a long, strong, solid base of type 1 muscle fiber, then transitioning to type 2 muscle fiber later is an option, is what I chose to do, right? So I don't weigh 185 anymore, and I have pectoral muscles now, right? And so, so when you look at the difference in the way people who are bodybuilders that I've learned from train, they typically do the cardio at one speed, one amount of time, and they may increase the time over weeks, but it's not like how a marathoner trains, right? The marathoner may run 1 mile one day and then run 12 miles the next day, right? And as a triathlete, I found it very easy to lose weight over time. But as a bodybuilder, it's much more calculated because the muscle fiber type, in my opinion, is a big factor in how weight is lost or weight is gained, right? Or muscle is lost or muscle is gained, right? So the research suggests that type 2A muscle fiber is more resistant to fatigue than type 2X muscle fiber, right? I just learned this last month. And so if you think about that, and the way type 1 muscle fiber repairs itself is different than the way type 2 muscle fibers repair themselves, right? And type 1 muscle fiber is mitochondrial rich, right? And it burns energy differently than type 2 muscle fiber. And type 1 muscle fiber can recover in a day, and type 2 muscle fibers, depending on the type, can take up to 2 weeks, right? So if you're looking at weight loss, the more immediate is through running, right? And there's all these levers you can pull while you're running, but I don't think many people understand that. And when you're looking at muscle size, you're really looking at type 2 muscle fiber, because type 1 muscle fiber is very dense. Type 2 muscle fiber is less dense and bigger, right? So the rep ranges we're talking about, those rep ranges aren't over 15 or aren't 15 to 22, as in when you're building endurance for running, right? You want to build those larger rep ranges, and it has to do with how your body processes oxygen, all this stuff, right? So all these things I've learned as a triathlete in my 30s, and I'm learning them all over again in my 50s as I'm attempting and trying to build muscle that is type 2 muscle fiber types, right? Type 2A, type 2B, or type 2X. Again, my name is Smitty. I hope you reach your fitness goals. And if you want help with anything about fitness, I would say there's no question. See a fitness performance coach, hire a running coach, or hire a physical trainer. If you want me to help you, there are resources down below this video and also at iHeartGains.com. I'm Smitty. I hope you reach your fitness goals, and I'll talk to you soon.